And good morning, Wilson from the 8 Spot here. I'm getting ready to do some sketch cards for Tops. I'm going to be doing the Garbage Pail Kids, and before I start my day before I start my day drawing those, I want to loosen up my hand and do a few quick sketches, warm-up sketches. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I've been doing sketch cards since off and on since about 1998, maybe it's 96, 98. Marvel done a series of what they called at the time Marvel Sketchograph cards, and I was one of the people invited to do it. It was the first time I did them. It was actually, I believe, the first time anyone was doing sketch cards. I think it was Fleer, Skybox. I'm not sure if that was before the merger or during the merger, but basically what you had was just like the sketch cards of today. Back then in the 90s, it was basically they're larger. Um, Sketch cards today, as I mentioned before, this is what they look like for the Garbage Pail Kids. But back then, it was a lot bigger. They were about, I would say, about this big, maybe even larger. There are little flies all over the place. Um, so, so those sketch cards were, like I said, they were bigger. So we had a color in a space about that big or so. But of course, that would be the sketch card itself. And then this was the border in case you drew out of it and stuff like that. But then, ever since then, they've done different types of sketch cards, long, thin ones, and what have you. So the thing with sketch cards is they're just sketches. You're supposed to do them pretty quick, only spend a few minutes on them. But over the years, people had done just more and more stuff to them. I like to pencil and ink them. If I have time, I'll color them with markers. But I've seen people color them with everything from watercolors, oils, all that type of stuff where it's just kind of overdoing it. They're beautiful cards, don't get me wrong. But again, we get paid so little and we have to produce so many cards that to me it just seems counterproductive to do more than what's required, which is a sketch that shouldn't take more than maybe anywhere from 15 minutes, half an hour. But the cool thing about it is that every artist does their own kind of variations, so you are getting a piece of original art, whether it's going to be just in pencils, inks, colors, or what have you. So I did the Marvel ones. They were called Sketchograph cards, and did thousands of them. Then they did it one more time a year later. I think I did maybe 2, 3 sets before kind of called it quits. Mainly because at that time period, it didn't seem like it was getting that great of a response. I wasn't really too aware of the card market and what was going on, and well, basically, some of the editors did make it pretty hard to do. They kept changing the restrictions. They kept changing the price. Every now and then, you feel like you were just putting way too much work for little out of it. And then one day, they just basically stopped calling. And that's the way it is with freelancing. That you could get called all the time, all the time, all the time, and then all of a sudden the phone just stops ringing. And I didn't really pursue it. It was my own thing. I did the cards. It was fun. Moved on to other things. And that was in '98. I do not work again on sketch cards until 2000 and I think 10, when I got approached by one of my former editors. It was an editor that I used to have over at CPM, Central Park Media. When Central Park Media closed, he moved around to different jobs, and he found himself at Topps. And at the time, Topps was doing the Star Wars license. And one of the things that they were doing with the license is they were doing sketch cards as well. Now, this particular six, Star Wars Galaxy, this particular set, I mean, Star Wars Galaxy 5, was not only doing the regular Star Wars sketch cards, but they were doing something even special, even more special than the original hand art. They were doing manga versions of Star Wars characters. So basically, you had um, artists who was doing that manga style, big eyes, uh, the I would say the style had to be manga. So most of it was black and white. Not everything was chibi, but it could have been. But it had to have that manga flair to it. A lot of different artists, manga artists, but I was listed down as a manga artist too because it is funny that the editor who contacted me worked in manga, and I lettered tons and tons of manga. It's just that's what it happened. One of the freelance jobs that I did that basically kept me busy for a very long time was manga, and those little books, they paid well. So my connection to a new Tops artist, new Tops editor, which who was my old editor, got me that gig. And I was doing top sketch cards for Star Wars steady for the next few good years. Um, so the first set was Galaxy 5, then I did Galaxy 6, Galaxy 7. Then I think it changed over to Galactic Files, and that ran that name a few times. And every few years there'll be a new set going, and then the anniversary sets started coming out. So Star Wars 30th anniversary, Empire Strikes Back 30th anniversary. So I got to work on a ton of cards, more steady. Did it for Tops, did it for Cryptozoic, did it for Upper Deck, and every now and then, trying to remember the name. There was quite a few names that came in and out. The Comic Book Legal Defense Fund one, I think, came through. Um, the name escapes me at the moment. Oh, Cryptozoic. Yes, Cryptozoic was the one that did that set for the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. So, um, yeah, so I've been doing sketch cards. I took a small break in between. I, oh, can't even talk of this so early. I got to do Mars Attacks cards. That was a fun set to be on because even though the Star Wars is great and there are tons of character, it's the same theme. But with Mars Attacks, you could go a little crazier with what was going on because all the artwork needed to be based on the original set that came out back in the 50s. So it was really cool to be able to draw the Martians from the set, and basically you had to only keep the original cards. I think there was only 50 of them. You could only keep those original cards as the basis of everything you were doing. So it's good to have restrictions like that because next thing you know, you could just be drawing anything, and these things have to be approved. So um, that's the stuff that I was doing for Tops. Let's see, Upper Deck. I got to do a lot of the Marvel cards. So we have what was called Marvel Beginnings, the Captain America movie, First Avenger, Thor. I got to do that one too. And that was the Mighty Avengers set. Um, and that was about it for Upper Deck. Then I moved over to Cryptozoic, which I got to do Tarzan. That was a lot of fun. It was his 100th anniversary set, and let's see, DC's 52. So not only did I get to draw Marvel characters, but DC characters. Um, what else? Oh, The Walking Dead as well. So I did a few of those. And that was it for Cryptozoic. So then I was back at Tops again, doing another set of Mars Attacks, uh, Star Wars, and then took a slight break for a little while. And next thing you know it, back on Mars Attacks. And then Mars Attacks led me to what I'm going to be doing later on today, which is Garbage Pail Kids. Now I remember, sorry, I remember getting Garbage Pail Kids the cards when I was a kid. So the restriction on that one is just to do the cards, the characters on the cards from the original sets. And since they've done a ton of them, you get to really pick out a bunch of characters. So that's cool. It's one of those things where you keep jumping around from card set to card set to keep you busy. But not only that, it it's good freelance work. It's work where you have to draw the cards quickly, and again, you do not get enough space to draw. So that's the other challenge too, is doing the designs where you can make sure that not only does it look good, but is it, designed well? Hopefully, people will like it, and that's the thing, you know. I've been on some forums and I looked at some people talk about the cards, and collectors, they love these things. It is affordable original artwork, at a nice convenient travel size. But some people, you can't please everyone. That's what you're going to learn as a freelancer. The thing is like we do not have much time to work on these cards. The the companies do give us enough time to get as much done as possible, but sometimes even then there's not that much time because we're doing these cards in between the time we're doing other freelance work. Again, we have to do hundreds, if not a few hundreds of cards just to make it worthwhile with the pay, because we only get paid a few dollars per card, and that's just the way it is. I'm sure the companies would like to pay us more, but we have to produce so many cards. Each card goes into at least one box, and thousands upon thousands of boxes are made and shipped worldwide. So we have all these cards being done, and they get shipped out, and you just wait to get onto the next card set. Or we go ahead and move on to the next freelancing gig, whatever that might be. Let's flip that around, use this space. So I haven't been following any particular pattern. I'm just sketching for the sake of sketching. It seems like I'm just concentrating on the heads right now on this page. But again, it's just freehand, just going in and just drawing whatever you want. I'm not even doing that. I'm just drawing whatever's just coming to me as I put it in there. So, and that's the thing about a warm-up sketch. It is just basically just to draw for the sake of drawing. Kind of like how writers are doing just free writing, or someone who might be learning how to play the piano is just playing on the keys. I need to sharpen that a little bit more. So how do you artists start your day? Are you sketching? Are you doing finish images to get started? I know some people jump right in cold. I know artists that will work on a sketchbook for a few hours. Each person is different. It's how you get your morning started. I usually get my cup of coffee. I sit down, surf the internet, read some stuff, and just before I get to work, I'll do these kind of sketches. So after I get this sketchbook going, or these sketches done, I'll move on ahead to start working. On to the next page. Throat's dry today, and I get something to drink and move on to the next thing. Do some quick body sketches. here. Put a nice Ramita style foot here. Nice Jamba Shemma style leg. So with these warm-up sketches, that's all it is. You're just getting your hand used to drawing again. I was drawing yesterday, but when you do the warm-up sketches, it makes it just a little bit. I find it just makes it just a little bit easier to do. Um, and since I'm not following any true direction, I can just have fun with it. And if I'm not feeling the drawing, I could just abandon it and move on to something else. But so character. Yeah, that's nothing to say about this character. That arm is way too long. But since this is not for publication, or and since this is not for any particular job, it's doing what it needs to do and just help me get a little warmed up. I know artists who keep a sketchbook just for this. They're kind of like diaries. It's basically they'll work on it for hours to do a finished piece that is not going to be seen by anyone. It's just basically for them. Sometimes when you're drawing freelance and you're doing work for pay, sometimes you don't get to do the fun thing about drawing, and that's just to just go ahead and draw. And that's sad because I remember spending hours upon hours just sitting there making images, drawing stuff up, creating characters, creating situations, drawing comics before I even knew I was drawing comics per se. I just wasn't sure if there was a word for it, so to speak. I was just, the word was drawing. Um, but once you start doing it for work, it just seems like you could easily fall into the trap of I'm not going to pick up my pencil unless I'm going to work on something, and that you only have so many hours of the day, and just free drawing, just going and sitting down and enjoying just drawing, just seems to be less and less time, but you have to find the time to do it. It's the only way. That's the thing. The other thing you learn is the only way to get better is to continuously draw. And I find that once I loosen my hands as I'm working, it's a little easier to approach the page. And that's the funny thing about the page is that you look at it, you could work and start, or sometimes you may look at the page. Man, my arms are long this morning. You could look at the page and then kind of freeze because you're not too sure what is it you want to do. But with this free drawing, you just go ahead and just start anywhere. If you're not feeling it, move on to the next thing. These lines are pretty much so I could follow what the character is going to be doing, what is the structure I'm following. Um, I'm sure everything has its official name, but I haven't even had my coffee yet. I'm drinking water, so bear with me if I don't remember the names of these things. But it's pretty much these lines are following pretty much the structure. You're always putting down a skeleton to follow. This way here, you know where things go. You start learning the names of it as you go. I got lazy. I didn't learn each of the names, but this is an arm. This is a torso, the body, the butt, the feet, the legs. You know, if you're going to actually go in and name each bone, I know artists who do that as well. I am unfortunately not one of them. It goes up there. You draw through. Draw through just means you just draw the line through it. You know, you wouldn't see the line because the back of her body would cover it. But when you're doing the structure like that, you draw through it to make sure everything connects correctly. And remember, kids, no matter how much you make a mistake, the best thing ever invented is the eraser. So if you want to go in, change a line, go ahead. One of the best things, and any comic professional will tell you, you're not going to draw that line perfect the first time. So just keep working it, keep sketching it, and you'll be able to do it in no time. It's one of those things that I can promise you. You keep working on it, you will get better. It's just the way it is. You can't get any worse. So everyone had to start somewhere, and you got to put in a lot of hours. And yes, I do get work, and yes, I'm a professional freelancer, awarded winning artist, blah blah blah. But I still practice. I still practice every day because I know I could be better. And the way you test that is you draw every single day. You keep all your sketchbooks, and you can look through them and see how much you're getting better, and find out, oh, if I just did this with one line, I could get it to what I need it to be. And sometimes that's all it is that a little bit of work on it, and you get better. And reference is the key. Don't try to always do it from the top of your head. Look at magazines. Look at sports magazines if you want to do superhero comic stuff. Because by looking at sports magazines, there are people in action. And you want to make sure that your characters in comics are in action. Sure, some of them are exaggerated actions, but that's the way it is with comics. You got to remember, you have too many people talking about, oh, I want to make it look as realistic as possible. And you look at realistic as possible, then it gets a little too stiff because not everyone could do all these moves and can't even get their bodies to shape like that. Here is kind of like Spider Girl. So basically sticking to the wall. You're not going to find a reference like that unless you look into another Spider book. But let's say if you're doing a character who's running like the Flash, there are plenty of magazines with sports players running, people running marathons. So the references are out there, and go ahead and use them. You'll never get. The only thing that too much reference would do is make it look too good. I'm just indicating costume stuff. I'm not going ahead and making it look exact because I don't need to on it. Again, being that it's a rough sketch, and I kind of like it. So what I might do is come to this one again and use it as a base for maybe a sketch card or something. That's the great thing about having the sketchbook as well, is that you may be working on it for one aspect, but then find that, oh, I can use this piece somewhere else down the line. If you look at any artist's sketchbook, they'll have so many pieces like that where they'll start something, maybe abandon it, and then come back to it later to either redraw it or continue working on it. Other times you may be working on, let's say, like I said, a sketch card, and you are stuck on an idea or a pose. So you just take out the little sketchbook, you draw up a few ideas to see if you can get to where you need to go. And also, sometimes you may have to take a break. Might be overthinking it. That happens as well too. So it's a little bit of everything, but just remember, the more you do, the better you'll get, and the faster you get. That's the other thing too. Is we have to produce so many cards in a short amount of time that sometimes you're relying on muscle memory. So you've been drawing so many years that certain things need to be done, and if you draw it quick, it comes out the way you want it. It comes out looser, of course, and then sometimes the work looks better that way. So if you ever go to a convention, watch the artists who are doing quick sketches. And you could do this at home where you just time yourself. Do what's called a 1 minute sketch, a 2 minute sketch, a 5 minute sketch, 10 minute sketch, and those are great to warm up to because sometimes you just got to draw it quick. You got to make sure that it gets done and move on to the next project. And the only way to do it is by practicing. So you kind of know where things are. So I'm drawing this quick head as I was talking about it because as you think about it, it's like, wow, how quick can I draw? How fast can I draw? And again, when you're just doing it for yourself, you could practice. You can try to see what you can do. So let's see let's see how fast do a Batman sketch. So you know that he has the ears, cow. Put that nose in there. Strong chin. Almost a smile. I tend to like to draw a Super Friends Batman, so he almost has a smile. Because he used to smile on Super Friends. He doesn't have to always be dark and brooding. Nice thick neck. It's a cape. Nice little McFarlane cape. And there you go. Real quick sketch of the Batman. Just for fun. I didn't time that, so I don't know how long it took. But again, you learn to do these quick because at a con, you only have a few seconds to interact, especially if you have a long line and you have to move on to the next person. But there you go. It's just quick sketches that I'm doing in the sketchbook just so I can. That was the first one I started before I really started recording. But again, with the sketchbook, you just want to loosen yourself up and move on to the next what's the next thing you want to do. So I don't think I have any more in this one. This is not a new sketchbook, but it's just or a sketch pad is what I'm doing. I keep saying book, but this is a sketch pad. I have it's a pad, so it's falling apart. But here's some stuff that I did a while back when I was just doing some chibis for my character Kaiju Amy. So I hope you enjoyed this. As I said, this was just for me to just sketch out, and I figured, oh, why not record myself doing this? And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to move on to working on these Garbage Pail Kids cards, and once these are done, these are approved, then I could show the videos of the few videos that I recorded of drawing these, or at least inking and if I have time to color them. So from Wilson Ramos from At the 8 Spot, I hope you enjoyed this and talk to you soon. Goodbye.